Yo, 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 and it looks like we're recording. Cool. Not long, just finished streaming from the movies, but didn't get to sleep straight away. And there's this kind of reaction I wanted to do. I was going to do it as a live, but then I realized I can't do it as a live on YouTube because it's got Dark Side of the Moon music on it and Wizard of Oz parts of the movie on it. So, like a week or so ago, we did a watch party on Rumble of the Dark Side of Floyd or the Dark Side of the Rainbow, or there's a few names for it, but it's basically when you put the Wizard of Oz movie and Dark Side of the Moon album from Pink Floyd together and sync them, it makes a unique auditory and visual experience. And there was conspiracies going about that that Pink Floyd must have designed it in a way to make it go with the movie, but they explicitly deny it. But for some reason, I watched it for the first time like a week or so ago, and Greg said it was slightly out of sync. But even for me, the experience was amazing. I couldn't believe how well it went together. So it's mad. It's mad. So I just think it's one of those things. I don't think there's anything divine about it. I don't think there's anything natural. I just think it's one of those coincidences that two things just marry up perfectly and work somehow. I mean, it doesn't marry up perfectly because the movie's an hour and 40 odd. The album's 43 minutes or something. So, like, you couldn't listen to the whole, you'd have to listen to the album 2.5 times for it to fit the whole movie, but it doesn't. It just fits the first 40 minutes sort of thing. From when the lion roars to that time on the MGM opening credits screen, you press play apparently from there onwards. But yeah, I watched it already done. And I came across this. Yeah, show you now. There it is. So it's 5-year-old, this video. This is one we're going to be doing. It says the scientific truth about Dark Side of the Rainbow, which is the Wizard of Oz and Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon together. Not that I don't think there's anything scientific about it, but I wouldn't mind having a look at this just to see what it says about it, and it's not like a reaction video. It's basically me just showing you it because it's a learning thing for me as well, because I'm quite new to this. I mean, I don't think there's any science behind it, but I'd like to know what the guy says. And it's a 5-year-old video from no nerds allowed. And like I said, I don't think there's any science in it. I just think it's one of those, there's definitely science in it, but it's just one of those things that are freakish and works for some reason. But I'd like to hear what he's got to say. Hopefully the video gets to go out because it's got copyright music in it. I'm not monetized, so it should be okay. I couldn't do it live. That's why I'm doing it as a video reaction. And we'll see when we try and upload it if it lets me do it. But the guy got it uploaded, so I dare say me reacting to his video has got to be fine. So yeah, it's as you can see, it's No Nerds Allowed. The video is called The Scientific Truth About Dark Side of the Rainbow. It's from 5 years ago. And he got, wow, 422,000 views on it. So we're going to have a look at that. I've downloaded it, so we'll do it from the video file and check it out. So let's do that. Let's do that. Okay, let's do that now. Right. Let's get it on screen. Right, let's get it on and let's just do it. It's not like a reaction, but obviously I have a few things to say about it. I'd rather just look at it, but obviously I'm going to have to say a few things. Anyway, let's do it. Here we go.
Sort of maybe a peculiar, unorthodox way that I'm excited to sort of hop into, maybe a little bit deeper into this episode of Death Blart.
Tell us now. I'm sick of everyone precursoring all of these comments. Tell us now. Give us the juice.
Sure. I guess I'll just go ahead and tell you that I did, in fact, watch it synced up with Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon.
Right. Okay. So they're starting off that way. I was thinking, what's going on with the picture? There's no picture. Just sound. But yeah, they did that intentionally. Okay. Here we go.
That is not a joke.
Like I had this thing, the Dark Side of Oz or The Wizard of Floyd, whatever you want to call it. I heard it for the first time. I'd only heard about it for the first time like 2 weeks ago, and actually heard the two of them sync up together for the first time last week. So like a week or so ago. But yeah, so it's new to me, and I can't believe I never heard of this before. So it's amazing to me that when I listen to it, it really put tingles down my back. It worked. Couldn't believe how well it worked. More in some places than others, but it worked nonetheless, you know? So here we go.
I watched the entire movie as underscored by
On Thanksgiving Day, 2017.
Again, I don't think there's anything scientific about it. But here we go.
The hosts of the podcast Till Death Do Us Blart released their 3rd annual episode. They watch and review the film Paul Blart Mall Cop 2 every year. But this year, one of the hosts, Griffin McElroy, put a twist on his viewing. He synced up the film to Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon.
All right, so it seems like he's doing an experiment and syncing up Dark Side of the Moon to Paul Blart Mall Cop. Maybe it's one of them just to see if it would work with any movie. Maybe that he's trying to say, like, people have got a bias towards, like, Pink Floyd's music. They like it that much that maybe if they watch it in tandem with a movie, it'll make sense to them. I don't know. See what he's got to say.
This is a reference to a long famous stoner activity / conspiracy theory that people call Dark Side of the Rainbow. It's the action of syncing Dark Side of the Moon up to The Wizard of Oz. I can't find any articles on when or who or why this all started, but according to Wikipedia, it only appeared as recently as I
wonder who actually first ever did that. Some cop, especially when you've got to do it the third roar of the MGM Lion. Begin the film, then press the CD, play on the CD at that point. Whoever decided to do that, whoever thought it might marry up to do it in the first place, that's pretty mad, to be honest.
1995. Around then, a man named Charles Savage wrote an article about it in the Fort Wayne, Indiana Journal-Gazette. But even he references other parties trying to perfect this weird cocktail. When paired,
the music's in the background, so hopefully we'll be all right with it. If you're not seeing the video, he's talking over the top of it. Surely it'll be good.
These two pieces of art result in a handful of interesting synchronicities. Lyrics match up to events on screen. There are rhythmic similarities. There are some shared thematic elements. Not to mention that the album cover features a transition from black
of a rainbow, yeah. And I was just about to say, wow, yeah, Greg told me about a bit to watch out for as well when the Good Witch has got her hand on her wand sort of thing, and you hear Pink Floyd and the bass is playing, and her fingers are moving kind of in time to the bass on her wand. It's pretty good. Very good, actually. So much so that you would think it would have had to have been intentionally done or intentionally designed, you know? But again, Pink Floyd explicitly say, no, we didn't do that. We didn't do that.
And white to a full color spectrum, like happens in the movie. In the movie, if you remember that happens.
Yeah, true. Yeah, it goes. And at that point now, when it opens the door, it just goes bang straight into the song, Money. And it's just a perfect transition. Opens the door, then the song blasts straight in. There's so many coincidences when it comes to this. The Wizard of Oz and Dark Side of the Moon is mad.
Most people accept this as a coincidence that's still really fun to watch if you've smoked enough, but some insist that it was the band's intent, even though the people in the band have said a whole bunch of times that it wasn't, which is very classy of them because it would be so easy for them to just say, like, yeah, we did that.
That's it. I mean, if it was them, I think they might, unless they wanted to keep a little of mystique about themselves. But look, we know like Roger and all that was. I mean, he spoke openly about him taking LSD and being stuck in a trip for a long, long time. You know, so if it was him, I don't think he'd have a problem, or them, I don't think he'd have a problem saying, look, it was me, unless he wanted to keep a bit of mystery to the band or whatever, or to the whole scenario, or the possibility that they might have done it. But yeah, I don't think they did. I think if they did intentionally do it, I think they would have claimed it.
It's all us. But regardless
and even just say they haven't done it, which I don't think they have, it like he says, it is fair play to him for not claiming it, not actually claiming it when he didn't do it. Because it would have been so easy to say, yo, yeah, glory to me, look at that. Perfect work. I did, So yeah, fair play.
Artist's intent, or lack thereof, Dark Side of the Rainbow has been a popular urban legend for decades, and it continues to be meaningful to budding young stoners to this day. Griffin McElroy, after watching Paul Blart Mall Cop 2 in a similar fashion, cites a lot of really similar synchronicities, arguably even more than you can point out in Wizard of Oz. And that...
So like if you do with Paul Blart Mall Cop 2, maybe it's just the fact that if you like music or like music like Pink Floyd's, maybe it's just a bias towards it, oh yeah, Pink Floyd, wow, run it along any movie, brilliant, I'll go with that, maybe it's just that, maybe it's just because you like the music so much, it just that you think it would go with everything. I don't know.
Was what got me thinking. Is Wizard of Oz really synchronous to Dark Side of the Moon, objectively, scientifically?
Yeah.
Would any other...
Is it objective or is it just subjective? But if it is subjective, then it's subjective to a hell of a lot of people. You know what I mean? Seems kind of mad.
Randomly selected movie be just as good, if not a better pairing for the album?
To be honest, I haven't tried it. Obviously, I'm just new to it, but it'd be interesting to see if you did pair it with another movie, just a random movie, if it would work just as well. I think maybe not so much now. Maybe if it was an experiment or a test back in the day, before it became too big, maybe people are too into the bias or the conspiracy of it. I don't know. Maybe it would have worked better a little while ago. But it'd be interesting to see if it would work with another movie or if it's just our bias towards the music itself.
Phenomenon start because there was something really there or just because somebody thought to try it? I wanted to answer this question scientifically, so I conducted an experiment. I watched a handful of movies from all different periods and genres, all synced up to the album in question. In an effort to be as unbiased as possible in this very scientific experiment, I concocted a point system. If at any point the lyrics of a song match up to an action happening on screen, that's 3 points. If an action or cut...
I remember the first real bit I noticed was when they were talking in the house when it was still black and white and that, and with the beat of the music, it was going from one person to the next conversation, the way they were moving their heads and talking, it just seemed to sync. And the music it was going on just seemed to be right for the vibe of that situation.
Syncs up rhythmically, that's also 3 points. If a song's lyrics match the movie thematically, that's 2. And if a song just serves as a good score to a scene, like it just has the same vibe, Like it's just, a vibe is worth 1 point. Only 1 point for a vibe.
With myself, a vibe. 1 point.
These are my very objective and scientific parameters. They are perfect and completely unquestionable. For this experiment, I'm going...
Of course, they're very scientific. Of course.
To watch a magical family adventure from the 30s, a shitty cash cow comedy from 2014, a modern mega blockbuster sci-fi action film, a groundbreaking art horror movie.
Ooh. Oh, now watching it with The Shining. Oh, that might be a bit freaky. I can see it working with the Avengers a little bit, the action-y, but Wizard of Oz, obviously, I've seen that. But The Shining, maybe it might put a different feel onto that. I don't know. It would be interesting to see with The Shining. Okay. It's an interesting little experiment he's doing. I won't call it a scientific experiment, but experimenting nonetheless.
Movie from 1980, a beloved animated neoclassic from
Wow,
2001,
great.
and an auteur family crime drama from 1972.
Can't see it working with The Godfather. Maybe Shrek. Don't know about The Godfather, but The Shining. That would be interesting.
I picked these movies because they represent a wide range of different tones and genres. They reflect a broad spectrum of filmmaking, and I did not pick them because I
It makes it good, makes it diverse. You know what I mean? Like I said, a load of different genres to work with, so you're not just kind of going with the same kind of fantasy type thing. So it's kind of like, and you know, like with Pink Floyd's music, it's kind of fantastical as well. So if you're trying to marry fantasy and fantasy up, it'll work, you know. But fantastical and comedy, maybe not. Fantastical and horror, maybe not. But be interesting. And I like what he's doing. He's given a variety of genres, so it's quite diverse. So it's more objective, I suppose. It's more, yeah, absolutely that.
knew that if I picked those ones, I could put Shrek and Thanos in the thumbnail on YouTube. That has nothing to do with it. So in this system, longer movies are probably going to have higher scores just because there's more time and more opportunities for synchronicity. The Godfather is almost 2 times as long as Paul Blart Mall Cop 2, so it has a clear advantage. To avoid this problem, I'm going to take the raw number of points a movie earned and divide it by its...
With Dark Side of the Rainbow, or the Wizard of Floyd, whatever you want to call it, it only is the first 40 odd minutes of Mario up anyway. You know, if you just kept if you just put the album on a loop to play with the rest of the film, I just don't think it would make the same sense. Playing the same music over and over 2.5 times during the movie. But it does marry up with the first 40 minutes. Certainly.
Runtime in minutes, giving us a more weighted number. I'm going to call this number a Floyd quotient. So, for example, if a movie scored 100 points and was 100 minutes long, it would have a Floyd quotient of 1. If the same movie scored 50 points, its Floyd quotient would be 0.5. 100 minutes divided by 50 points
This is not science, by the way. It's more formulas in mathematics.
50 points.
Probabilities.
Yeah, 50 points divided by 100 minutes, 0.5. It makes sense. It's all there. I know what I'm doing. So, now, it's time to quit stalling and actually get to work on it.
Do it.
I synced up the album to the most well-known point, the third MGM Lion Roar. For each of these movies, I'm going to start the album right at the very beginning. Just whenever the beginning of the movie is, when you watch it on iTunes, Amazon, whatever that might be, that's where I'm going to start. But for movies like Wizard of Oz, where there is a specific urban legend start point, I'm going to start there instead.
Some people say the first Roar of the Lion on the MGM. Some people say the third.
I have to say, I do now understand why this has stood the test of time as an urban legend. There are like some really insane moments in this. Near the beginning, Miss Gulch shows up right as these alarms are all going off in the album, like, just like, danger, danger, she's gonna kill your dog if you don't get out of there.
Why, oh, why can't
Yeah. I remember that part. It's really good. It just hits you when it starts happening. It's really, it's got something, it just hits your spirit somehow.
Great Gig in the Sky starts right as the tornado touches down and then transitions into this soft reprieve right as Dorothy passes out.
Amazing. A little pause there, just in case, you know. helps the copyright a little bit, but it's amazing. When I was sitting watching it like a week or so ago, it was just like I wasn't really knowing what to expect. I was thinking, this really work? And will it? I mean, I love Pink Floyd, but it's not something I listen to every day. And I do like Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon, but it's not something I listen to every day. But when I heard it together, I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I was mesmerized by it.
And then right afterwards, Money starts, like as soon as she steps into Oz, like into color for the first time.
Yeah. Perfect. Soon as she opens the door, perfect.
It's crazy. It's insane. The album is only
Mad. It's that was one of the good bits. Actually, it was Four Jacks that told me to watch that bit. I think it was Four Jacks. But it's perfect. It's perfect. Open the door, and it just comes in. Honestly, you would actually think that Pink Floyd got together and thought, let's try and marry this up with Wizard of Oz. You know? But it is good. It's good.
playing just this ominous heartbeat during the song called If I Only Had a Heart.
I'd be friends with the sparrows and the boy who shoots the arrows if I only had a heart.
Dorothy passes out.
And at the end of it, that's because that's at the end of the album, that's kind of what it phases out. And it's boom, 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 and you hear the heartbeat there as well.
Again, right as the singer sings the words "one step closer to death."
You can't rest now, we're nearly there. One day, closer to death. Don't cry, you'll rust yourself again.
Dorothy passes out a lot in this movie. She wakes up in Kansas at the end, right as the singer sings the lyrics "home again."
Oh!
It's insane.
Oh, what? So you have to... Oh, right. I thought it only married up with the first 40 minutes. What? So it has to be put on loop and played 2.5 times then, pretty much. Because the album for Pink Floyd is only 43 minutes-ish, or 41 minutes. But the movie is an hour and 40, an hour and 45 or something. Something like that. I thought it was only meant to be the length of the album married up, but obviously you must have to play the album in loop or something. So I've only had the first 40 odd minutes then. Okay, I didn't know this.
The timing on that is so crazy.
Wake up, honey.
And these synchronicities are really fun, but sometimes there are points where the music doesn't just match the movie, but it adds extra meaning and extra layers to the story being told. The big climactic battle at the end happens during the song called Us and Them, which is a song about like the senseless yet inevitable nature of violence and conflict in the world. But it also plays during the second half of Munchkin Land, as they're sending Dorothy off on this mission to destroy the witch. It gives this movie this weird thematic idea of retaliation. It almost paints the Munchkins as being just as vindictive and cruel as the witch's army. It almost implies...
Yeah, it with the Munchkin part, because that's near the beginning, but obviously the bit where they wing monkey things, I didn't see that far into it. In fact, the copy I played only did the first 40 minutes anyway, and then the rest of it was a still frame all the way through. So I didn't realize that you had to. So really, you must have to put the album in loop once you start it. It must have to be put on loop or something. Okay.
fault in a senseless conflict. Money, a song about greed and the inherent immorality of wealth, plays during both the introduction to Munchkin Land and the introduction to the Emerald City. It calls the apparent wonderfulness of these places into question in a really interesting way. These are the kinds of things that people cite when they're...
Now that's something for me to do, and I'm gonna have to find a copy with the whole lot married up. I'm gonna have to do that, and we're gonna have to do that in Rumble one night and do the whole lot, because I think Greg B tried to give me a copy on show me a copy on Yannick's, but when I tried to open it, the video is no longer there, so I'm gonna have to try and find a copy somehow. Okay.
talking about how cool of an experience Dark Side of the Rainbow is, but What they tend not to mention is all the dead air in between those mind-blowing moments. So much of the movie passes by with me like sitting at my computer thinking as hard as I can, trying to find anything that might maybe count as a sync. Worse than dead air, though, are the moments that seem to achieve the complete tonal opposite of what the movie is trying to do. Somewhere Over the Rainbow, one of the most iconic songs in human history. It's this melancholy ballad about wishing your circumstances were different and looking forward to the day when you have the power to control your own life. It's underscored by On the Run, which is a 5-minute song that's just like the same grating synth arpeggio, like over and over and over again. It's the worst.
I mean, that bit, I mean, I did think it was a little strange it didn't crack, because I did see that bit, obviously, but because that's near the start. Is it? Yeah, of course it is. But to me, it still kind of felt as though it should be there for some reason. To me, I mean, I understand what he's saying, but for me, it still felt as though it should have been there. Okay.
The same thing for the emotional heart of the movie. The scene where the wizard is giving out gifts to protagonists. Once again, it's On the Run. It totally robs the scene of any of its triumph or relief. It just makes you feel bad. It's 0 out of 10. I don't like it. It's a bad experience. All said, the movie earned 52 points.
Well, I like the past 40 minutes of it. Right, that's a mission for me to do then. I'm going to have to find one where it's got the whole lot synced up. I honestly just thought it was the first 40 minutes you had to that it was relevant for. Sorry. A little story there, a bit tired.
Which, divided by its 102-minute runtime, gives us a Floyd quotient of 0.51. Going nice and fast. In trying to emulate Griffin McElroy's sync point for Paul Blart Mall Cop 2, I used one specific thing he said to match the timing of his viewing.
But Breathe in the Air, the second track in the album, has sort of this long, very sad intro that is like a pretty good like background for Paul Blart's life falling apart. And the lyrics to that song kick on, I am not kidding you, the frame that the mom gets hit by the car.
Oh, that would have been a bit freaky, but still. I just can't see it working with Paul Blart. But I could be wrong.
With that as the only point of reference, that makes the start time a little weird. It makes it right there. I won't go into too much detail regarding all the cool moments in this viewing because I think Griffin himself does a pretty good job of chronicling them in the podcast, but the major highlights include Cirque du Soleil kicking up their giant stage show during Great Gig in the Sky.
Okay.
Paul Blart getting attacked by a bird set to brain damage.
On the dark side of the moon. It might be funny because to me it doesn't seem the same as the Wizard of Oz, to be honest. When I watched it, it just doesn't seem to marry up the same. But now I know I've got that mission to do. I really didn't know that it was meant to be played through the whole movie. So you must have to have the album on loop.
It's fucking the coolest. I have one point of contention though. Early on, there's a moment that Griffin McElroy claims happens like this. But on my viewing, it happens a little bit more like this. like this. I don't know what I want to do for that, if I should gesture or not. This is a good time to bring up that syncs aren't always going to be down to the moment replicable. The album might have slightly different periods of silence between songs depending on where you're listening to them. If the movie's audio and the album's audio are playing at different bit rates, it can make the audio start to creep out of sync over time. Any number of things could have happened that would result in that less than a second discrepancy. And he also just left out one of the best parts.
Looks like at the end of the day as well, though, I just think The Wizard of Oz being such a cult classic and the album Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd being such a cult classic, you know, and you've got fans of them both and fans of them both crossing over, you know, someone that's a fan of Pink Floyd will also be a fan of Wizard of Oz, you know. So to them, it's going to work better, I think, you know, than something like this.
We've come to a fork in the road. What?
Paul Blart Mall Cop 2 scored 54 points, which divided by 94 minutes gives us an FQ of 0.59, which is actually slightly higher than the Wizard of Oz scored.
Higher than the Wizard of Oz. Okay. Let's see what it does with Shrek. With Shrek, it should be quite interesting. I mean, animation, you know. Okay.
I found that Dark Side of the Moon is fun to watch with movies because there's an inherent drama within it. The album has something like a dramatic arc.
Yes, it's true. I mean, Pink Floyd's music is dramatic in effect. I mean, they would always experiment. They were always on LSD and stuff like that. So their music kind of expresses who they were, I suppose. I mean, you look at their Another Brick in the Wall video, especially the animation one. You know, the animation one where the kids are getting minced up in a mincemeter and marching hammers and stuff like that. Crazy. So very psychedelic. You know, so like they played dramatic music, you know. So it would work well with things that are kind of dramatic, you know.
Even though it's not telling a story per se, it still mirrors and mimics the dramatic arcs of something like film. Most films follow...
Because it's dramatic and it's music and it gets your emotions going, married together with a visual, and you're getting into, I suppose there's just got to be something that happens within you, you know, maybe?
Pretty universal story guidelines. A typical scene in a film, or any story, really, is made up of some kind of introduction, a build-up, a climax, and then a catharsis. A typical movie will have a 3-act structure, with each act containing similar arcs. And if you're doing it right, the film overall should behave the same way, with an introduction and a build-up to a climax, and then sort of a denouement coming off the end. The same can...
Well, that's it. They do that in movies all the time anyway, don't they? So, like, you've got, like, it just plays out normally, and then the music will just, if there's music to accompany it, then it'll be a chilling music, you know. But if there's like a high part of the film where there's got to be some action, there's a build-up, you know, you hear the music getting faster or whatever, and then there's a crescendo, a crash at the end, a crescendo of music where all the action happens or whatever happens, you know. So music accompanies movies anyway. So it's not too hard to think that music like that would marry up with a movie like that, you know. You know. Keep saying, you know.
Be said for Dark Side of the Moon. Each song has an intro, a strong build-up, a dramatic climax before mellowing out in the outro. And like a movie, the same can also be said of the album as a whole. It stands to reason that depending on the length and structure of the movie, Dark Side of the Moon might very well mimic the dramatic arc of the story. Not to mention that a typical movie is about an hour and a half to 2 hours long, which gives you the time to listen to the album about 3 times typically. So it can really strictly mirror one of the 3 acts of the story.
Oh, Lord. Some.
getting these nice mouth sounds? Good. It would be radical if we could get sponsored by Skittles.
With your video, the blooming mouth sounds that you're making.
Shrek has one of my favorite moments in this entire experiment, but all in all, it's just not as exciting as most of the other subjects. Most of the movie goes by without much that's particularly exciting. There are some fun moments, but they're separated.
That's interesting. I would have thought because it's animation, it might have married up somehow. But, you know.
By these long swaths of... Swaths? Is that how you say that? Swaths? Is that correct? Give you some feedback. Swaths? Okay. But they're separated by long swaths of movie where the music is just this obtrusive white noise, and you've been sitting at your computer for like 8 hours listening to Pink Floyd, and you start to wonder if anybody except for you cares about this whole weird experiment you're doing. But I don't know, I might be bringing my own baggage.
That's true. I bet there was one point that everybody would have, if anybody was making a video of it or doing a live on it, everybody who watched it, and you know what I mean, would have been like, yeah, let's get into that. Now, when I do things like that, I find that it's just a few people. It's a few people that want to come see it and chill out with it and take part in it. When you think there might be more people that would want to get involved in it, you realize it's a thing that happened a while ago, and there were probably more obsessed with it back then, you know what I mean? When it first came to light.
To that, let me just give you some of the highlights though.
Yeah, right. Okay.
It's interesting to me, actually, because the first song on the album, Breathe, ends up conveying pretty much the exact opposite of what's being shown on screen. It's this very existential song about feeling stuck and worrying that you're running out of time in your life, put over footage of Shrek being perfectly content, exactly where he is.
That's a juxtaposition for you. That's a contrast. You know, there you go. You can marry them contrasts up. You know, it's a contradiction. It's well, you go, just a juxtaposition, a contrast between whatever and whatever. Nowadays, you can marry something that's like people say opposites attract. You know, so a contradiction might attract. You know, when it comes to artistic things.
He's fighting to be left alone. Like I said in that interlude, the mellow opening of the album will often mirror the openings to movies in terms of energy, but not necessarily in terms of tone. During that same song at the beginning of other films, we see, for example, Dorothy hating the environment she's being raised in and yearning to escape to somewhere else. We see Jack Torrance struggling to make his writing career take off and worrying that it never will.
Oh, he's into this one already. I didn't hear him say he was going to start talking about this one. Okay. I would have thought that it would have been a weird experience with The Shining.
We see Thor's entire people destroyed and the reality of his real responsibility crashing down on him. And we see Paul Blart's wife get hit by a car or something. I already can't remember what happens in Paul Blart Mall Cop 2. But Shrek is just enjoying his bug dinner and his earwax candles, like a normal guy would. Just like a movie, Dark Side of the Moon rises and falls. There's tension and release. It has all the things that make a narrative story satisfying, but what differentiates stories from each other is the content within those structures. Dark Side of the Moon touches on lots of universal themes.
That's true. Context always makes a difference. I was going to say content always makes a difference. Yeah, we need the content for the context.
Themes and broad emotional ideas, which just happen to line up with some particular stories more than others. Shrek just starts in a different place than the other movies on the list, and in a different place than Dark Side of the Moon does. Shrek only scored 37 points, divided by 92 minutes. That gives it an FQ of 0.41.
Okay. So that one was.
But that low score is
now The Godfather. I can't see marrying up with that at all, to be honest. Thinking about the music in that from The Godfather and what kind of pace it's at. I mean, there might be a few heartbeaty type things. Depends what it lines up at. I don't know. We'll see what it sings.
nothing compared to The Godfather. Which only scored 70 points in its grueling 175-minute runtime, giving it the lowest FQ of the whole experiment of 0.40.
But you haven't even spoke about it. You're just giving the point. They're the ones you spoke about, then give the points. This one, you're just giving points. What? Yeah.
The Godfather is an absolute chore. There's not really much to say about it. It's a much more subdued movie than all the other ones on the list. There's not a lot of strong physical...
That's what I'm saying with The Godfather. It's not a fast-paced movie. There's fast things in it. I mean, it's good dramatically and it's good for, story-wise. But I can't see how it would marry up with something like Dark Side of the Moon.
Actions for the album to sort of Mickey Mouse. So a lot of the time the music just serves as like bland wallpaper. The Godfather wrestles with a lot more complicated emotional beats than the other movies on this list too. And often in a really subdued, sort of slow burn kind of way. It's not a very outwardly emotional movie. So pairing it with an album that is a pretty rawly emotional piece of music.
Yeah, it's very expressive. You know, like Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon is very expressive. Where, yes, in obviously The Godfather, the actors, they express themselves, but in a more subdued way because it's part of the characters or whatever, you know?
It's not quite a balanced breakfast.
Right. Yeah, that yeah, see that to me, there's no. When I heard this in this part of the music in Wizard of Oz, I felt something from it. It was like, wow. But with this, yeah, no, nothing. Nah, you know. That kind of marries up there, the end part. Got to pause it for a second just because of copyright. But yeah, that end when he walked out after shooting him out kind of married up a little bit. Yeah, I would say that's okay. That marries up quite well, that bit. Yeah, not so much there. Not so much there. Right, let's see how Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, Black Panther, and all Spider-Man, Hulk, and all them dudes do with it. Mind you, it's something that Tony Stark would listen to. He listens to AC/DC and that. He's going to listen to Floyd. He probably had a Floyd t-shirt on in one of the movies.
Infinity War scored a .691, and
Right.
which really makes it.
He's doing the. Did he do the points first in the top three? I'm sure he didn't. I'm sure he did the points afterwards. Okay, well.
Not look so good for Wizard of Oz. Infinity War is the antithesis of The Godfather. It's a broad movie with big actions and wide emotions. The action is non-stop. You get almost no time to rest in this movie, which gives it a strong advantage. In my system, which I realized was more and more flawed the longer this experiment went on, moments that were rhythmically in sync were worth the most points. And there are just so many punches, crashes, explosions, and disintegrations in this movie, it would be almost impossible for it not to score high.
Magnificent!
It's that sadness I sense.
Oh, no. Oh, no. See, in the Wizard of Oz, especially that bit, that's when the Wicked Witch was just about to come in on the bike. Before she's the Wicked Witch, is before she's in Oz. And that made sense to me in that bit. And this, no, it's like noise.
Only if you ride the tide, balanced on the biggest wave, race towards a merry grave.
No, it doesn't do it.
And all that you eat, and everyone you meet, and all that you slight, and everyone you fight.
Everyone you fight. Oh, that kind of married up a little bit. Just because Mr. America was fighting old Thanos.
And all that is now, and all that is gone, and all that's to come, and everything under the sun is in June, but the sun is eclipsed by the moon.
And I know totally off topic, but this is when Marvel was good. Marvel is complete garbage now. I keep following it just to see if it gets any better, but it's just complete woke garbage now. That's it, just complete woke garbage. Yeah. It's not so profound.
But I saved the best movie for last.
The best movie for last. See, I did say it'd be interesting with The Shining. I wonder if it is actually gonna, because of it. If it is, then I might actually try it. Ooh.
The Shining is a movie that has a reputation for being overanalyzed. People say that the Indian heads on the cans...
And again, it's a cult classic. Yeah, people say a lot of things about it.
...in the pantry are thematically relevant. They say that this poster looks like a minotaur, and that's also important. They say that if you watch the movie forwards and backwards at the same time, then the scene where Jack talks about previous murders plays alongside the actual murder at the end of the film. People say that. I don't know why they do, but they do. I figured it was only natural that I would subject The Shining to a similarly odd viewing experience myself.
In The Shining as well, they open The Shining, when the car is going along the mountains, just when it's an opening scenes of The Shining, before we see the characters and that, they're just in the car. It's like kind of bird's eye view or behind them view. And you see the sky, and there's clouds in the sky. Apparently, there's an image of Stanley Kubrick in the clouds somewhere, but I've never ever noticed it. I don't know how true it is, but I've heard it. I've heard it all over the place, and I've just never noticed it. If anybody knows about that, let me know in the comments. Bang, 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 bang. Ooh. That kind of worked. Oh, damn! That went in the works as well. Yeah, Shelley Duvall, she went through a lot of crap from Stanley Kubrick in this movie. A lot of crap she went through. But, yeah. Now that works.
Hey guys, it's Jackson here with something I forgot to say the first time. There's a well-known conspiracy theory that Stanley Kubrick helped to fake the moon landing.
There is.
Supposedly, The Shining is in part an expression of his experience having to work on that insane of a project.
Oh yeah, and then you've got The Dark Side of the Moon, Pink Floyd. Huh?
In secret. And the 237 of room 237 represents the 237,000 miles from the Earth to the moon.
That's right, because in the actual book, it wasn't room 237. So they changed that. Why?
And as luck would have it, right when Danny is looking at the numbers 237, the singer of Pink Floyd is saying the word moon.
But the sun is eclipsed by the moon.
Oh.
The Shining got 0.69 points.
Profound. Nice.
Making it the highest scorer in this weird competition. Before I look at the data and crown a winner though, I want to take a second and talk about Death of the Author. It's a framework of thinking. Here, just a second. I'm gonna get a drink. Oh.
Yes, record those gulping noises. Nice.
Okay.
Just a second. I gotta get the water out of my lungs before we keep going.
You've got to get the water out of your lungs. They shouldn't have been in your lungs. The water should be in your stomach, not in your lungs.
Death of the Author is
That's called drowning.
the framework of thinking about art that says that an artist's intention is completely irrelevant, and the only thing that matters is the relationship between the work itself and the consumer. Obviously, Stanley Kubrick didn't intend for his movie to be played front to back and back to front simultaneously, but somebody did it anyway, and to them, it has meaning. That version of The Shining is a piece of work that...
It's like backtracking with records, with vinyl. No one knew about it until someone did it, and you can definitely hear words in certain songs. Was that intentional? I don't think so. But once people got wind of it, I think that they started doing things like that intentionally. You know, like putting demonic messages and that in there. They maybe did it. Maybe it was just a coincidence with the fact one record that they tested. Oh yeah, it's backwards spin that. Ooh, hear what it sounds like. So once a rumor got out about that, they probably played into that rumor and started doing it, you know, intentionally, and then claiming that they don't. You know this guy.
Exists outside of the author's intent. And depending on how you feel about Death of the Author, that might be completely inconsequential. Similarly, playing The Shining, or really any other movie, with Dark Side of the Moon, creates what is essentially a new work, removed from any real person's intent, except for maybe you, for just thinking to put them together. Really, there isn't any author to kill. To enjoy these movies synced up to Dark Side of the Moon is really the same thing as enjoying that weird overlapped version of The Shining. It's accepting that the art has value as an experience between you and it, removed from the person who created it.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. It's an amalgamation of two pieces of art put together, obviously, amalgamation, and made into another piece of art. A unique piece of art. Even though it's made from something that's not unique to you. Unique originally, not to you. But then it becomes something unique.
The Shining won this contest in raw numbers. But now, at the end of the journey, I think the system that doled out the numbers is
It looked like it would have been good with The Shining, but I still think the experience I had with the Wizard of Oz is something more profound about it. I don't think there's anything scientific about it. I don't think there's anything supernatural. Just a big coincidence, and it just works somehow. Just somehow. Just one of them things.
Kind of flawed in a lot of ways.
No
I
intent
discovered
behind
pretty
it.
quickly in my first viewings that the scoring system doesn't work perfectly in practice. In Paul Blart, money plays both times.
I'm realizing now that you have to have it on loop and listen to the whole lot all the way through to the end of the movie. I've got more of the experience to go. I'm gonna have to try and find it though, guys. I'm gonna have to try and find it.
Blart visits the Weapons Expo, which is a wild and incredible coincidence, but is realistically only worth 4 points, whereas a strong beat syncing up with a punch in Infinity War is worth 3, and I don't really think that's fair. Not to mention that many of the instances of two-pointers, which are lyrics having thematic similarities to a movie, are really open to interpretation and can be stretched to fit a lot of situations. These scores could vary really drastically because of the subjective interpretations of the criteria. I know, it's astonishing. During Paul Blart, I noted that a lot of really minute circumstances can deeply affect the timing, and therefore the experiences of these viewings, meaning that there are many different versions of each of these movies, none of them any more or less valid than the others. I want to point out this video where someone has uploaded Dark Side of the Rainbow to YouTube. In order to accommodate all of the many different sync points that people have experienced and documented over the years, they have to mess around with the timing pretty drastically. They regularly pause the album or pause the movie for just long enough to make everything work. No one start time or viewing experience is really definitive. All this is to say that the points could vary really drastically.
Well, Evan did say something that she had in certain parts you have to pause it. That must be after the first 40 minutes or so. I don't know. I mean, it certainly worked for me. It's just one of them things that seems profound, but it's just one of those things. One in a million things happen now and again. 1 in a million.
Based on minute timing differences. But perhaps the most important flaw is this. The points in my system only accounted for similarities between the two works, but not interesting differences. Like I said about Wizard of Oz, the album adds narrative ideas to the movie. It enriches the story of the film in really interesting ways. When I set out on this experiment, I didn't assign a point value for when the music injects poignant subtext that didn't exist in the film originally. Taking these points in stride, I think I have to reevaluate my objective and intelligent judgment. I do really think The Wizard of Oz is the most worthwhile experience. As a film, The Wizard of Oz is kind of vacant. It has its morals at the end of the story, but other than that, it's not really about much. For the most part, it's just sort of a really episodic adventure. There's more emotional negative space for Dark Side of the Moon.
I mean, Dark Side of the Moon, sit and listen to your eyes shut or whatever, and however you listen to it, it can mean something to you internally or spiritually or whatever. I don't know. Music takes you on that kind of emotional journey. So it can mean it's subjective. Different things to different people. It's specific to you what it means. Simple.
To fill. The other movies I compared it to are already just kind of full. They have perspectives and really specific emotional wavelengths they're trying to engage with. And adding another piece with just as much assuredness just makes it feel kind of overcrowded. Moving forward, I think the most exciting movies to pair with Pink Floyd are the ones that don't have a whole lot to say in the first place. Paul Blart Mall Cop 2 was a close runner-up in terms of how much fun I had watching it. Just because it's vacuous.
Just can't see that working at all.
It's easy to impose alternate emotion onto it because it's a blank slate.
Mind you, I don't like Paul Blart Mall Cop. I watched the first one, so I never watched the second one.
And all that you did, and all that you lied. destroy, and all that you do, and all that you say, and all that you eat.
Yeah, pause that a little bit, because for the copyright, just in case. I know it's mixed with it makes it a separate, a different thing when the two copyrights mixed together, making a separate thing. And obviously with me in here and all that, I'm pausing it, so it should be good. We'll see once I try uploading it.
And everyone you meet, and all that you slight, and everyone you fight, and all that is now, and all that is gone, and all that's to come, and everything under the sun is in each.
You're the best friends anybody ever had. And it's funny, but I feel as if I've known you all the time. But I couldn't have, could I?
I don't see how.
Again, lots of Mandela effects in that movie. Lots. I think somebody said the other day about 9, as far as they knew. One right there. His heart was brown. He's got a car. He's a gun. You know what I mean? And the scarecrow run about. But yeah, he's like, to me, his heart was brown too.
You weren't around when I was stuffed and sewn together, were you?
And I was standing over there rusting for the longest time.
Still, I wish I could remember. But I guess it doesn't matter anyway. We know each
Again, pause, because it seems like he plays a lot of the film. There's a lot of the film. Right, so in fact, let me just have it forward and see what he does. Right, okay. I'm just going to put it forward to where he speaks. Right, yeah. Right, there we go about that. There we go. Perfect.
So I guess that's it. Thank you for listening to me talk about film theory and Pink Floyd for, I don't know, 45 minutes probably.
No bother. I was interested to hear since it only came to my attention a few weeks ago in the first place. I know this video, I'm not really reviewing it. I'm kind of just showing it and put my tuppence in. It's not a review, this one. It's just kind of to show you that I got interested in it because I came across it a few weeks ago because of Greg B and all that. But yeah, this video is about 5 years old. It looks like he hasn't done anything in his channel for about 3 years. But yeah, I will still link it.
But if you want to play along at home, it's so easy to sync up your favorite movies to Dark Side of the Moon. And, pick out your favorite comedies, your favorite adventure movies, stuff that's not super complicated. The simpler the better, and the more fun I think you'll have with it. Goodbye. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that...
Was he about to say he loves us?
I make lots of money off this video, and I get really famous. That's what I hope. I'm in it for the money. Thank you. Good night.
We got 422,000 views. Compared to one alive, he got 273 views, and 604 views. So you got a fair bit of views off it. I don't think you became a millionaire off it, but you got a fair bit of views off it. Fair play, man. Fair play. And you have got 4.88 subs. So for nearly 5,000 subs, 152 videos. Fair play.
That's it. Oh, fuck it. Okay.
It's really.
Yeah, sure. Let's.
All right. Yeah, we'll stop it there because I think he's. Yeah, the rest will just be talking about. Yeah. Nothing to do with the topic we're on. Okay, cool. We're done with that. So cool. Nice one, guys, for watching. Again, I will quickly show you his channel again. No Nads Allowed. I'm gonna have to subscribe to it now so I can link it in the description. So I will link his channel in the description. This is the video we just watched. This one, The Scientific Truth About Dark Side of the Rainbow. Again, I don't think there was anything scientific about it, obviously, but it was an experience nonetheless. Like I say, I got interested in it. So once I come across this video, I thought, yeah, I've got to have a look at it. And I couldn't do it live because the copyright stuff and all that. So I had to try it as a video. So I'll get it uploaded now. Hopefully it's all good. I'll get it out to you as a premiere, guys. So yeah, I will link his channel in the description. And I appreciate you guys watching. hopefully you enjoy the video. Bless you guys, and I will see you in the next live stream. Here the Sunset's free. It's free. Indeed. Ta-da.